Hey everyone, welcome back to a brand new Ninjago video here on the channel. My name is TannerFishies, and in today's video we're going to be discussing the return of the mechanic and why this return has several Ninjago fans confused, I guess I'll say. Now, following the release of the new poster for the upcoming Ninjago Season 16 or Summer 2022 story, a lot of Ninjago fans have been taking a closer look at said poster and making observations on certain things that they find in the poster itself. I've already made a few videos about this poster as well, and one of the primary takeaways from the poster is that the poster actually showcases several returning Ninjago bad guys. And as I've mentioned, people's reactions to this poster have been pretty positive, except for a small bit of confusion that follows the mechanic actually being in the poster. When you compare the mechanic to several other Ninjago bad guys in the poster, we have people like Pythor, Esphira, the Skull Sorcerer, and Mr. E, all of which have played major roles in the seasons before them, and aside from maybe Mr. E, are all main villains. And the mechanic really doesn't stack up to these other bad guys, so why exactly is the mechanic there? I've seen people say that Ninjago should have brought back a different bad guy in place of the mechanic. I've seen people suggest Cryptor, Ultraviolet. The point is, people don't really have a clear idea as to why the mechanic was chosen here. Compared to the rest of the bad guys returning on said poster, the mechanic is kind of a weird choice. And I agree with that statement. I think the mechanic is a weird choice, but I do think that is intentional. In today's video, my goal is to break down my thoughts as to why the mechanic may have been chosen and why the mechanic may be important for the Ninjago Season 16 story. Just to give people a little bit more of an idea as to what the mechanic could be doing in Season 16, and again, why he was chosen over several other Ninjago bad guys to make a huge comeback in Season 16. For a quick disclaimer, like I said, this video will in fact contain my own thoughts and theories and speculation, so keep that in mind. And also, maybe this video will contain possible spoilers, not likely though, but just in case something I speculate about ends up being correct, well, there is your minor spoiler warning. So in terms of a track record, the mechanic himself has had a pretty interesting history throughout all of Ninjago. Allegedly first appearing in Skybound Season 6, he was sort of a random prisoner at Cryptarium. Of course, he was distinct for his features and his personality, I guess I'll say, but I don't think any Ninjago fans thought more of him after Skybound. The Ninjago series, though, had other plans and brought him back during Sons of Garmadon for a brief cameo at the beginning of the season before he was eventually shut down by Kai and Zane, and in the newer Wildbrain era Ninjago seasons, he's actually been popping up quite a bit, appearing in Season 11 in a minor role and Season 12 Prime Empire in a stronger, more prominent position. So while the mechanic may be a common villain throughout Ninjago's rogues gallery, he was never a main villain, and that's why people are so confused as to why he was chosen over several other Ninjago bad guys. In terms of why he might have been chosen by the Ninjago staff and showrunners, it seems like a random choice, but I'm willing to bet that it wasn't. I believe the mechanic has something big going on in this next Ninjago season, and maybe the Ninjago staff just wanted to build him up more as a primary villain. Again, the mechanic is not a main villain, but maybe the Ninjago staff wants to build him up even more to have that same position as somebody like Pythor or the Skull Sorcerer, as a mainstay Ninjago villain. Perhaps we will finally see the mechanic's backstory, more of his history explained to us in a very distinct way. I just think the mechanic returning in Season 16 will be an excellent opportunity for the Ninjago series as an entirety to build up this character even further, establish a backstory, some type of motivation, and maybe explain why he's been working for so many different people and why he's shown up in so many different places over the years. As I've said, out of every other Ninjago bad guy, there has to be a reason why the mechanic was chosen specifically to be a part of this new villain team-up for Season 16. In terms of a story perspective and less of a behind-the-scenes standpoint, it's a little bit easier to put together why the mechanic was chosen here. It's very likely that the entire Ninjago Season 16 villain team-up thing has been organized by the Overlord. You can basically determine this based on the Season 16 poster and the fact that all of the villains are wearing armor with the Overlord symbol on it. The insignia of the Overlord is very much prevalent and visible on the armor of all of these Ninjago bad guys, including the mechanic. The Overlord could have easily recruited the mechanic due to the fact that he is the mechanic. He can build things. On the technical side of things, the mechanic is pretty much unmatched in terms of weaponry and actually assembling certain things that can be used for battle, such as armor, equipment, or as I said, weapons. Maybe the Overlord is using the mechanic as his weapons dealer because we've seen the mechanic make some pretty crazy stuff throughout all of Ninjago. That signature flamethrower that he has would actually come in handy quite a bit if the Overlord is trying to raise a villain team-up or some type of small army. Also, in terms of the Overlord's team, each villain has a very distinct role and place in said team. The Skull Sorcerer provides Vengestone. Pythor could be a leader or a tactical advisor, while the mechanic is a builder. Again, building weapons for the Overlord Overlord's army, or maybe even constructing the new armor that we see on several of the Ninjago bad guys in the Season 16 poster. There's also the idea that the mechanic could help utilize Vengestone or something else entirely to create these new crystals that we see on the entirety of the poster as well. Again, in terms of a construction and technical perspective, the mechanic is probably one of the best choices for the Overlord's army, and the mechanic has quite the resume, working with people such as Unagami, and also not to mention his independent career as a smaller scale Ninjago villain. On the surface, the mechanic could have been recruited simply for building things, but I believe the Ninjago story will give the mechanic even more of a reason as to why he wanted to join the Overlord. There has to be some type of personal thing going on here, and maybe that simply comes in the form of the mechanic wanting revenge on the ninja for whatever reason. At the end of the day, the mechanic might be a kind of weird choice for the Overlord's army, but I do believe he has a place here somewhere, especially considering his skills, background, and what we still have to learn about the mechanic as well. In terms of my personal thoughts on the mechanic coming back, I do believe on the surface it is kind of a weird choice, like I said. I can understand why Ninjago fans are kind of confused as to why the mechanic was chosen out of every other Ninjago villain that exists out there, and even some of the loose end villains like Pythor. You know, bad guys that haven't had their stories told completely just yet. Why was the mechanic chosen ahead of several other candidates? I can see why that's a question, but as I've said earlier in the video, I feel like the mechanic was chosen for a reason. Behind the scenes, maybe the mechanic could have been chosen just because the Ninjago staff wants to build up his character, and in terms of a story, I can see why the mechanic would be a prime addition to the Overlord's lineup. I'm pretty much open for anything following the mechanic's return. I think we need some type of backstory for the mechanic. It'd be nice to hear about where he came from, what exactly his history is in the Ninjago universe, and what his motives are as a person, as a character. That's my biggest wish for the mechanic in Season 16, if he will be coming back as a primary part of the Overlord's army. Maybe we could get some type of backstory for him. That would always be ideal to me. And as I've said, I'm okay with the mechanic coming back. He's not my first choice for this new Overlord army, but actually having him on the team could prove to be a super interesting dynamic, and I for one am looking forward to seeing what exactly goes down following the mechanic's return in Ninjago Season 16. With that being said, guys, that'll pretty much wrap it up for my thoughts here today. Just a quick video discussing the mechanic's return and why exactly the mechanic may have been chosen. Feel free to leave all your thoughts down below in the comments regarding the mechanic's return. What do you think he will be doing in Season 16? And are you excited to see the mechanic come back, or would you have preferred someone else to be on the team? Leave all your thoughts down below in the comments, you guys, and hopefully you enjoyed today's video. That'll pretty much wrap it up for my thoughts here today. Thanks a lot for watching. If you enjoyed today's video, feel free to like, comment, subscribe, do all that fun stuff, and as always, check out the links down below in the description for my other forms of social media. Thank you all so much for checking out today's video. Once again, you guys, my name is TannerFishies, and with that, I bid you farewell.